Good afternoon, class. This is Arlen Calhoun coming to you again for our second discussion board. Uh, for this discussion board, I decided to study and learn about Mercy Otis Warren. So I really didn't know much about her to begin with before I took on this assignment, but I actually learned quite a bit and was actually pretty drawn to her based off of one simple fact that she actually wrote a history of the American Revolution. I had no idea. And she was actually the first woman to do so. So Mercy Otis Warren was born in 1728, September. She was a political writer and a propagandist during the American Revolution. Then she also wrote plays before it, during it, and after. And then, obviously, like I just mentioned, she her last work was writing a history of the American Revolution. That's called A History of the Rise, Progress, and Termination of the American Revolution. I actually really want to get into that and read that just because I think her writing was very, very neat. One of the sources that I decided to look at were actual letters that she wrote to multiple individuals. And it was very, very interesting to read her writing style. So, through reading about Mercy Otis Warren, I've come to a much greater understanding of why her father and husband both encouraged her to write. Like I said, reading her work was incredible, and it kind of hit me as I was reading that both her father and her husband were very, very supportive of her, which in the 18th century was very rare for a woman to be a writer and then even a published writer at that. And then to have the support of the men around her was just crazy for the time period. She had a knack for describing the climate and the undertow of political waves of her time. For instance, in a letter that she wrote to John Adams in 1775, she penned these two excerpts. One is, "You seem quite weary of a state of suspense. It is painful. It is vexatious. How many years have the hopes of contending parties been alternately rising and sinking with the weight of a feather?" Second one was, "Sir, do you think the political scale will hang in equilibrio? Will not justice and freedom soon preponderate?" Those two phrases really kind of stuck with me in that letter. And she was writing to John Adams after her third play about the Governor Hutchinson. And she was kind of asking permission in a way, though she didn't need to, about writing it. And these two phrases, they hit me in in the way that she articulates everything. So her writing style tends to be very pointed, which is really refreshing because a lot of the writing and everything from that time period seems kind of convoluted. But for her, it was very direct. She would get to the point. She would say what she meant. And to me, that's really interesting. Excuse me. So her last writing, like I mentioned, was that history, the rise and progress and termination of the American Revolution. I would suggest that all of us read that, and if you already have read it, that's incredible. I need to catch up to you. However, I think overall, with Mercy Otis Warren, the biggest thing that I would want somebody to know as far as about her life is, one, her writing style. So anybody who's interested in any type of writing or the history of writing, be incredible to get into that. However, in addition to that, just what she wrote about. So the fact that this woman in the 18th century was one of, if not the main political and propagandist writer in the American Revolution is just incredible. So going back, reading through her plays, like the Adult Tour from 1772, all of these talking about Hutchinson, and just the way that she was able to articulate the minds of the people, I think, is really brilliant. I don't think there's any other word for it. So I encourage everyone to get in and kind of study a little bit more about Mercy Otis Warren. Thank you. Bye.